name's Paul Marsh, and I'm going to talk today about a tip that will enable you to use Visual Studio to debug other clients apart from just the emulator, which is going to be pretty useful to you. So I'm going to use the WPF example that we've shown before, so just as a quick revisit. So this is a little WPF app, and it's just going to have a little send window and a little results section there. And if we look in the code, it's currently getting its secret and ID from configuration manager. I just want to change this. It's going to be first changes here. So let's just comment this out. We're not going to use a secret because we're going to be hitting our own copy of Visual Studio, so that won't need any secrets to do that. And I'm also just making a very slight adjustment here. I don't want to use IDs. So the maybot is called bot. Its name is called bot, and I just want to use a name rather than an ID in here. So when we get messages back from the bot, we check to see whether the bot is sending them here, and I just want to use name rather than ID in here. So that's all the changes I'm going to make for now. So the problem is that when we run this WPF client, it's going to go off to an Azure service and it's going to do the work and then come back. And the problem is when you're developing a client, say a web chat control or something, there's often a case where there's some issue that you need to, would be really helpful if you could debug on the bot as well as on the client. And at the moment, there isn't an obvious way of doing that. So what I'm going to show you is a way of, as a hack, if you will, an unsupported way of doing this. And so your mileage may vary. Maybe they'll close this gap very soon, but hopefully we'll get some mileage out of this. So if we go back to the bot now, so this is our classic maybot here running, and we've got an emulator running here already. So if I just say hi. Now, just one thing to note here. So our Visual Studio is talking to a hosted site at localhost 3978. So you may think you can just go into you may have tried going into your client and setting that as a host and realizing that just doesn't work. So I'll show you the subtle difference. So we hit hi now. So here we are hitting a breakpoint inside of our maybot, and it's just going to come back and say, I don't understand what you said, hopefully. I didn't understand what you said to me. Great. So let's just do that again and look at the breakpoint. So we got our turn context here, and if you look at the activity, there is something of interest in here. So we come down here and we find service URL. Now notice that isn't the 39 address, this is some other unique address. Now I haven't taken the emulator apart to have a look, but what I believe is happening is the emulator is hosting or pretending to host its own website, and all the information is being routed to and from it. So this is actually what we're going to use in our client. So we're going to grab this address out here, let that run, and we're going to go back to our client, so in this case our WPF client. And when we create the bot client here, we want to tell it not to use its normal web address. So you do that by looking at its base URI. So this will mean that all the calls it makes will now use this URI rather than whatever it has built in. So we need to put in the address we got. Because it's a URI, we need to just new up a new URI here. So that's fine. Got a new one of those. And the rest of it should remain pretty much the same. So now we're using this sort of proxy address that's been created by our emulator. We can now run this up. He says confidently. Here we go. Oh, and look, we're getting our little handshake. So our handshake is coming inside of the maybot. And if we come back to our WPF app, we can now send the same message that we might send before. What do you think about the health service? So now we hit the breakpoint inside the maybot. That's WPF. So what do you think about the health service? Thanks for asking about the health service. Shall I expand on that? So now you can see that we're hitting breakpoints in our bot that have been caused by a different client other than the emulator. So there we have it. That's my tip for allowing you to debug your client apps that you want to use for the bot by utilizing how the emulator is working. And one quick point to make is when you stop the emulator and restart it, the service URL that we used here will change. So it's no good just hard coding this in there and expecting it to carry on working. Every time you restart the emulator, whatever client test you're doing, you'll have to remember to go in and grab that service URL and put it in here. Okay, thanks for listening.